Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Spectrum podcast with myself, John Lawrence, and then we've got Allan Shipham there. Marcus can't make it with us today, but over to you, Allan. I'll let Allan introduce this week's guest.
Sorry about that. We got an echo here. Sorry. Hi. Thanks for joining us. We were just saying how there's always a bit of chaos, but it turns out right in the end. So, I'm Allan, and thank you for joining us this week. This week we've got a real special guest. In a week's time, a lot of people are going to gather in Thetford in Norfolk, and we're going to hear from some very interesting speakers. It's part of a series of meetings which we've started up and have travelled around the country. I was really, really honoured to be invited to be involved in the first one, and I've supported everyone that we've done, including speaking at a couple of them. I can't remember the first time I met Liz. It's so long ago, it makes me feel old. But she has been an absolute godsend to the country, and people don't even realise, they don't even know she is. So hopefully, if we can spread a bit of love today, and you can follow Freedom Digital Broadcasting, which is Liz's channel, and she's got loads of fantastic interviews in there, including one with an author that I like quite a lot. I've been published in several anthologies, so I was really honoured to be invited to be a guest on Liz's show. So without further ado, Liz, next week, what's happening on Saturday next week?
Well, when everybody was talking about the Great Reset and the wonderful Klaus Schwab and all the dreadful people in Davos, and then we pushed that further to the One World Government and the Trilateral Commission and all these things, I couldn't see that there was anybody for the ordinary man, Allan, pushing back against these people. And I went down to give a talk in Usk in Gwent with the wonderful Hugh Mulwyn-Hughes, who was one of the founders of UKIP. And they have a libertarian meeting there once a month. And I've been down several times. And Hugh and I, excuse me, let me turn the telephone off. You can't wink, can you? I should have turned it off beforehand. Hugh and I, after the meeting, I go back to stay with Hugh and his wife, Veronica. We stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning over several bottles of wine, discussing what to do. And the Great Resist, not the Great Reset, the Great Resist was born. And that was in March, and that was 2 years ago. So we've into our second year now. And we've done what the aim is to go around the country on get the best speakers that we possibly can get and allow people to come in £10 a head, nothing fancy, nothing, no high prices, £10 a head, to come and listen and talk with the speakers that we've got on a whole range of subjects that nobody else is talking about. And if they are skirting round the edges, as you know. And it's what we need is the truth out there. Not only do we talk about the problems, Al, as you know, but we also talk about what the ordinary person can do, the solutions to what's coming down the pipe. So next week, we're in Thetford in the Carnegie. I think it's the Carnegie Theatre. And we're there at the behest of the patrons and veterans of East Anglia. They've invited us. And I think it's absolutely wonderful of them. And it's one of the most exciting lineups. Is it lines up or lineups? Lineups of speakers that we've ever had. And we're going to start and end with a launch. So we're starting with a launch of something very important, and we're ending with one. And both ends are to do with farming. And as you know, farmers are very much in the limelight at the moment for all the wrong reasons. Poor farmers. And of course, being a farmer's daughter and being born and bred on a farm, I've been looking after farmers most of my life through UKIP, mostly in mid Wales. So we're starting with the wonderful Mark Byford, the bowler hat farmer. And I think many people actually go online and watch Mark. Mark has really carved a niche for himself. So he's starting on the farming line. We're doing a big launch with him. And also at the moment, there's a lot of talk. Everybody buys fertilizer to go on the land. It costs a fortune. And of course, at the moment, with the problems with Russia and Ukraine, where much of it comes in from, it's in short supply. But unfortunately, when you just use fertilizers all the time, it's not the real goodness of the land. You're just adding a bit back in, but you're probably taking more out than you're putting in. So we've got two wonderful entrepreneurs, Andy and Francesco, who are talking about revitalizing the earth naturally using the ley lines and stones that have been activated with copper wiring. It's absolutely fascinating. And of course, these systems go back 1,000 or 2,000 years, and over the years they've all been got rid of in the with modern technology and what have you. But when you look at land across the country, it's in a dire straits. There's just no goodness left in it. We've leached it all out. So we've got two entrepreneurs coming to talk about that, and then we've got Neil McRae. Now, Neil McRae is Dr. Neil McRae, and he's a wonderful speaker on a number of subjects, but he's talking about the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, and if we don't use them, we'll lose them. Now, he, again, there's been a lot of humour in these speeches, as well as being really serious. You know us, Alan, we've always got a grin and a smile on our face, which upsets the opposition more than if we're wailing in our beards, sort of thing, doesn't it? So we have a great deal of fun. So, and then Richard Phillips.
It's very true that what we're doing is spreading a positive message. It's not doom and gloom by any means, but when we're informing about things that are happening, there's always a positive story, like you've just mentioned. People who've got another option or something else that we can do and try. And if we're all singing off the same song sheet, we can make a difference. So yeah, I agree with that statement. Yeah.
Well, we know very well that I think we're about 10 seats off being sold out, and that's a whole week to go. They'll go this week like there's no tomorrow. So we're nearly sold out there, Alan. So it really is working. And then Richard Phillips is tidying up the end of the farming bit by talking about how to get the message out. We have got to get farmers producing food for us. And going back into mixed farming if they can. It's taking a bit of a change for some of them, but they're all up for it, that's for sure. And Richard, getting the message out of how we get specifically town and city people using farm fresh produce and not the stuff that's in the supermarket. I don't know whether you realise, but if you go to the supermarket, if you buy a cauliflower at about £1.20, I think they are at the moment, the farmer gets about 9p. It is absolutely infuriating. And they wrap them in plastic and do all sorts of things. And as you know, when we were up in Gateshead, we had a table. We had a table out of the farm shop, and we had a table out of the supermarket. And the veg, they don't even look the same, do they?
No.
So we've got to get back to grassroots. Really, I'd rather give the farmer £1.20 or even a bit more than I would the supermarket. And the difference in the type of produce you get from a local farm. Down here in Kent, we grow most of our own stuff. Actually, I have to say, but even so, it's the farm shops and the farmers markets that we should be using. So that covers really the start for farming.
Yeah, one thing on that point though, you're talking about where the money goes. If you give it to a farmer, they're going to put it into the farm. They're going to, invest in the infrastructure and stuff. If it goes to a supermarket, it just goes to the shareholders as a profit share. So this is something that we need to all think about when we are buying things. You're right.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's much healthier to get out there, and farmers are so adaptable. Really, it's going to take a bit of a change for some of them to get back to mixed farming, but I'm afraid it's where it's got to go, and we've got to be there to support them. A, they want to know what we want, and B, we've got to help them when they do produce what we want to actually go to them and buy it. So that covers really the start of our farming section. We're then going on to talk about and update everybody on the ULEZ 5G, the 15-minute cities, the masts that are going up without planning permission, and all the sort of stuff that's going out with the two great Nicholas Martin and Mark Steele. They're firm favourites with our audience. And it's absolutely great to have them. They're really kind in the amount of time they give us, Alan. And the update, there is a tremendous update coming from Mark Steele and a number of successes from Nicholas Martin, who's wonderful, talking about the fourth industrial revolution and where the Internet of Bodies and the Internet of Things are linked together. It's absolutely fascinating. I've learned so much from everybody, but in particular from these two men. It's not my line. It's never been my subject. So it's an absolutely fascinating. And of course, it's all backed up with slides and graphs and what have you. It's not just dull people, speaking. They are absolutely fantastic. And then sadly, he can't be with us, but we've got Godfrey Bloom. Now, if I mention Godfrey, most people have a smile. He's a dour Yorkshireman who tells you how it is. And Godfrey, of course, is talking about finance and where we're all heading, and really what we can do to help protect ourselves if there's a crash. So I've done an interview with Godfrey to play on the day. So that's Godfrey. And then, if you know, at the moment, the council tax across the country is going up, isn't it? And Alan, your great colleague, Neil Petrie, is going to come and talk, because I think if a council puts a tax up to over 5%, they have to go out to their constituents, their public, and so it's a referendum.
So I think you're right in that, but there's a big question mark over it, because I think the Deputy Prime Minister we've got at the moment is like riding over certain rules and regulations, and whether or not they get away with it, I don't know. But yeah, if what you're saying is correct, then yeah, we should be going out to referendums, and we should be getting more of them. Yeah.
Well,
can I just interrupt? Sorry, Liz. Just let me interrupt. If you're watching live, ladies and gentlemen, please like and subscribe to the channels, and please comment. Thank you for your comment, Ashley. And I do think Marcus is in the chat, but God bless you, Marcus. Good to see you today. But yeah, please like and subscribe to the channel. You can go to X as well. I've already put in Liz's website initially at first there, so and I will do again. But sorry, Liz, carry on, love.
No, it's quite all right. No, please do. It's the audience is the most important. I'm here just sounding off. It's the audience that's so important. So Neil and Alan with direct democracy. I think it's up to the people, Alan. If this Deputy Prime Minister is trying to override the people yet again, it's up to the people to create hell on earth to say no. Over 5%, you come to us. We'll tell you whether you can put it up or not. And if you look at the waste that's going on in America, whether you like Donald Trump or hate him, if you can see how many billions and trillions of pounds they're finding that are being spirited away into all sorts of odd corners, if we start looking at our local councils, I think we could find one hell of a lot of money, as we could in the health service and everywhere else. There's so much that is wasted. It's just unbelievable. So anyway, so Neil's going to come and talk about the rising council tax and local referendums. Okay. So then we've got, there's a wonderful, you'll understand this, John. There's a wonderful Liverpudlian called Mark Taylor, and he's emigrated from Liverpool across to Thetford in Norfolk, which is where we will be. Now, Mark is a wonderful raconteur, and he has been in the armed forces. This is why we're going, because of the patrons and veterans of East Anglia. And he's going to talk about joining the armed forces to make us all feel safe. And I think that's so important. It's something that we forget, that these soldiers of ours and sailors and airmen are really in their jobs so that we remain safe. And so Mark is going to tell us about that. And I'm sure there'll be some anecdotes from his time in the forces. And I'm sure we will all have a huge smile on our face, because I can't think of Mark without a smile. And he's absolutely super chap. And then we're looking a bit at, we haven't done the basics really of natural and common law. And we got a wonderful chap, unfortunately he can't be with us, but he's done an interview and he's really stripped back natural law and common law to the basics. And there's a 20-minute chat. I learnt so much more. If you do A, B, C, and D, and really at the basic level, and Sovereign Pete has done a wonderful video for us. Then we've got Dr. Tech Kong. I don't know whether any of your viewers will know Dr. Kong. He's going to talk health, our road to freedom. And so we've got Dr. Tech coming along, again, a wonderful speaker who will entertain us, I'm sure. And then we're ending up by talking about the awful things that have been going on with children. And I can stomach most things, but anything happening to a child, I just can't. I get a little bit upset. And we've had the wonderful Kimberly Isherwood has been to most of our shows, and she comes from Public Child Protection Wales. So we've got Kimberly at this time by video, because if anybody is watching this from South Wales and can't get to us in Thetford, it is their first conference in Cwmbran, near Newport, next week. So Public Child Protection Wales next Saturday. If you can't get to us up in Thetford, please try and go and support Kim. Kim and the girls have had so much pushback from the government. Now, wouldn't you think if you were in child protection, the government will be 100% behind you instead of taking you on at every possible opportunity? And I won't spoil it now by telling you what Kim's going to talk about, but she has a wonderful story to tell, and also what they're going to do in the next 6 months.
I think it's fair to say, though, it's public record now, there's videos out there. What they've done is they've exposed some of the stuff which we will see starting to be introduced across the country. The reason for that is obviously Labour in charge in Wales before the election, and they had various things. We had one of the examples was a lesson plan which we followed based on one of the classes which they would deliver in Wales. And it was gross, everyone had a piece of paper and they just put it down beside them. It became so horrible to hear about what was going on. And this was being taught to small children in schools. So, really, really powerful speeches from all of the speakers, but definitely Kimberly's. You went away and remembered it, John?
Yeah, I've got a couple of things to say. Mark Steele, I've been on interviews with Mark and I've met him several times. And a lot of the stuff you're talking about, I'm 100% behind. You mentioned about councils and council tax. And my theory is the councils aren't run properly. We don't have the correct people in the council. A lot of councils now are just full of box tickers, unfortunately. They're not as good as they should be at doing the job. And that's what I see. And the council tax rise isn't just one area. It's absolutely nationally. Birmingham council's on its knees. That's facing severe bankruptcy. Oldham council, there've been several councils in London that have gone bankrupt and are raising the council tax. I think Camden Council is 15% raise on their council tax. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But what, like you said about Trump, is showing you the waste of our money, and it is the same over here. And I'm sure that our politicians' pockets are being lined with public money, just like over there. And I'm getting a bit irate, me, because that's what I'm going to be putting on my next leaflet now. I want the council audited, something like that. But yeah, very good stuff. Kimberly, the PCP girls. I've had Kimberly's been on my show already, and we support the girls massively. They took the Welsh government to court over relationship and sex education in schools, and did a few demos down in London, and they have had a lot of pushback on them. And, I'm not going to say these girls, when I said politically aligned, they're not right and they're not left. They're just like centre girls for me. And I've never judged them as being right or left, but the kind of pushback and abuse that they get is really annoying to me. So, and I've already said a couple of times, if I ever come to their demo, I'll be their security and stuff like that, because I'm just not having them women, them mothers treated like that, especially when it's around the protection and development of our kids, which is like the most important thing in the world. I don't have any children myself, but I come from a massive family, and we've got a host, loads of family connections, and we're a good, strong family unit. I've just been looking after my mum till she passed away in October. She had advanced Alzheimer's, but our family unit's good up here. Whenever I needed something, it was there, and the family helped me. And we don't have that. We don't have that now in society. But yeah, you know, I'd love to come to this conference right now and buy the last ticket, but there's no chance. I'm really booked up, and I'm on a bit of a tight direction where I am at the moment. But no, carry on.
Yeah, I'm hoping we'll bring it to the Northwest next. You know, yeah.
Well, can I just tell you, of course, we were coming to the Northwest not last November, November 2023, on Armistice Day, which was a Saturday, and Hope Not Hate got involved, sent an email to the hotel where we were going, and a hotel chain that I've used before with no problem, and the manager there shut us down at the 11th hour. Because it was Armistice Day, all the halls were booked, as you know, because people go for concerts and all sorts of things. So we couldn't do it. So that was my excursion into the Northwest. But we will come to the Northwest. There's no question. But I shall make sure that the venue is secure this time. And Hope Not Hate. I mean, what on earth Hope Not Hate have got to do with anything? I've got no idea, because none of us are haters on anything. So I call them Hate Not Hope, actually, not Hope Not Hate.
It's a question I was going to ask you afterwards, because you still haven't finished reading all the speakers either. And that is that, you know, there seems to be a lot of people talking about left and right. You just have to watch GB News, and they're doing it all the time. And it seems to be this infection that everyone else must do it. I mean, most of us don't even understand the left or right. And what I see is like patriotic people who want something for the best. You know, there seems to be this thing that if you're socialist, you're left, and if you're capitalist, you're right. But it doesn't work like that, you know, because I think it's a big circle. And, you know, if you go all the way around one way, you end up in the Kremlin with a big house and lots of starving people living in the streets around it. And you go all the way the other way around, you've got the White House in America, with loads of poor people all starving, you know. So, but what we have here in this country is a healthy balance between both of those lifestyles. But what's your opinion about it all? Because, you know, they celebrated the fact that we'd had to cancel Liverpool, or we were cancelled. They shared my tweet, which was quite personal, because it felt like they were watching me, you know, and I'd been partly responsible for it, where we were promoting the event. So, you know, what's your opinion about this left and right? Because it doesn't make any sense really to me.
I don't do left and right. I do right and wrong.
Exactly.
That's the end of the story. And I go straight down the white line of the road. So right and left, it's either right or it's not. And what we're trying to do, Alan, is get the truth out and to expose the awful things that are going on. And I mean, I have never in all my life come across, and I've been politically awake since my early 20s. I voted in the first referendum, if you like, back in Harold Wilson's day. Shows how old I am. No, I shouldn't really tell you all this. Yeah. I know you think I'm only 21 now. So, but I voted in the first referendum. So I've always been politically aware. But, you know, I have never, ever, ever seen a government like this. I have never been so ashamed. I'm totally ashamed. And I think everybody else is. I mean, it could be funny if it wasn't, you know, the fact that these are cabinet members saying you can identify as a llama. And this is somebody, this is a minister. You know, I mean, words fail me. and all this, you put on your CV what you like. My God, if we'd have done that, we'd have been fired immediately. You know, and these are the people running the country. They shouldn't, they're not even fit. They're not even fit to represent anybody, let alone act as government. And I just think you shouldn't be in any way, you shouldn't be an MP before you're 50. You need experience of life. You need, you know, experience of some sort of industry or the health service, or all we've got is failed legal people, and they are failed, otherwise they wouldn't be there. The whole thing is just a nightmare. And as for Sir Keir Starmer, why people will not expose the fact that he was a member of the Trilateral Commission, who is a higher body, if you like, than the World Economic Forum in the pecking order in the world, and that nobody will expose this. I've banged on about it for the last, I don't know how many years. People get tired of me banging on, but you don't look at the things like the Trilateral Commission, whose only aim is a one world government. You know, and this is he was our representative. He isn't at the moment. We've got David Willits on there, which is even just as bad. So there we go. Look, I'll just finish the speakers and then you can fire at me whatever you like. I can see a couple of questions coming up, which I'm more than happy to answer. So on the subject of children, we've got Ray Savage. Ray Savage was a policeman who exposed the satanic abuse of children in London. And he's going to come along and talk about that. So it's not just the grooming gangs or rape gangs, as I call them, from anywhere north of the Watford Gap, or even down here in Ramsgate, which is the first rape gang that got brought before the Beak. So we've got Ray Savage, we've got Peter McElvenna, who sadly he's abroad at the moment, but he again has done a wonderful video for us, because he represented and worked with one of the victims of rape in Rotherham. And I don't think people understand, and this will be brought out, but I'll tell your viewers now, that if you get injured, say in a burglary and what have you, there's something called the Criminal Injuries Compensation Board, and there is a scale of money that you get for whatever injury you've had. But for these girls that have been multiply raped and tortured, there is not one penny. The only thing, the satisfaction they get, is if some of these people end up in prison. So what Peter and the wonderful Allan Craig did, and the wonderful Peter himself, they talked to a very, very brave girl, and with the help of Robin Tilbrook, a solicitor, they actually took out a civil case and claim against one of the rapists. And they were awarded in the High Court over £400,000 for this girl. There's a whole thing that Peter, I won't spoil it any further, but to say that eventually the house will be repossessed and what have you is exactly what's going to happen to get the money, because of course he's pleading poverty, as they all do. But he has a house, so that is going to have to be sold, and you know it's a lot of work. But if it happens for one, we're hoping it opens the floodgates for these girls to get some sort of compensation to move forward with their lives. The fact they get nothing from the Criminal Injuries Compensation Board is a complete and utter outrage. And there's more on the judiciary, but I'll leave that. All the videos and all the speeches will be up on our channels after the event anyway, and we are live streaming. And to round up the case for children, we've got the one and only Andrew Bridgen, and I don't need to say any more, but Andrew has blown the whistle on the child sex trade in this country, children being brought in from abroad. It's an absolute outrage, and I'll leave that for Andrew. He did a wonderful, if none of your viewers have seen it, go on to watch Andrew with Alex Jones in America. And, you know, I can only listen to a bit of it at a time. It is so horrendous. So we're ending up with Andrew Bridgen. And then finally, I am doing a launch at 5:30, and I'm not going to say any more about it at all. But with Mark Byford starting and me finishing, we're going to go out all singing, all dancing, Alan. And so that's exactly where we're at. And that's our day next Saturday, and I can't wait. It'll be a really positive day. You've been to all of them, Alan, the atmosphere in the room is fantastic, isn't it?
It is. And something I'll say is, all the speakers make themselves available to people who have questions. We sometimes have a Q&A at the end of the speeches if there's time, but we're so pushed. You've read out a long list of people there. They'll all be speaking. It's so much to absorb in one day as well. You need to go away and watch some of the videos back to sort of recap things. So it's just an amazing experience. So I highly recommend it. And like I say, if you can't join us, you can click on the link and watch it from home with your feet up, and a cup of tea and biscuits. And you pause it and that, and then catch up when you go out for a pee or something. So it's win-win-win, and we're moving this around the country.
I think we have got literally only a few tickets left now, but they're on the FATSOMA website, FATSOMA website. I'll send you over the link. I don't know whether you've got it, Alan, or not, but if not, I'll send you over the link. So if anybody does want, it's £9, and I think FATSOMA take £1, so £10 a head. Okay, and that hopefully gives people. I want real people to come. I don't want people that can afford £200 to come who do nothing. I want the real people out of the country to come, and that's the people that we aim for, and that's the people we get. And we do have an awful lot of we do have some smiles and some laughs along the way, don't we? It is very positive. Yes, we do. So there. I see flashed across the screen the immortal words of my great friend and colleague Tommy Robinson. Did I see something come up about Tommy a minute ago? It flashed across the screen.
But Ashley Styles. There are wars and there is peace. People can't understand if there's a war equals immigrants come here, but all they think is, grr, immigrants, let's go get them. The Tommy Farage crowd is being played. That rhetoric is blaming it on one person. It's always been here, and it is a big issue in society today. Whereas I blame our leaders, I don't blame a particular minority. I blame the councillors, the police for not speaking up, not arresting these people and stuff like that. But no, it's a nasty sentiment that we need to get out of people, of stop blaming one particular section of society. That most of the blame we know goes to the government and our leaders, nothing to do with anyone else.
The law is very clear. You cannot have a sex with a child under the age of 16. 15 and below is clear. So people need to be arrested. Unfortunately, it has caused racial tension because they haven't been treated as they should have been. These people should have been arrested, taken off the streets and put behind bars. There's no question. So should anybody else. And I've got no doubt. The thing that people get wrong about Tommy is Tommy isn't against immigrants. He never has been. If you ever go out with Tommy has got as many Muslim and black friends as he has. He's grown up in Luton, for God's sake. They all went to school together. But nobody has taken this seriously and has done the work that Tommy's done, protecting both Sikh and white girls across the country. And he's not had the if you like, the kudos for the work that he's done. And to see him in solitary confinement is just an outrage, I'm afraid. But he is no more racist than I.
It certainly is, Liz. It really is an outrage. And you were talking before about the satanic sex ring in London. We've done a lot of work around the Nottingham and Nottinghamshire inquiry into the homes there, and Melanie Shaw and stuff like that. And like the abuse comes from the elites in them cases, but nobody's going to say nothing. Nobody speaks out. I chatted with Brian Garish one time, and he was saying that the person they put to lead the inquiry is just a yes man. That's not what we need. We need a person who's going to lead the inquiry and say, no, I'm a no man, or we'll do it my way, not not a yes man, we'll do it the government's way, or we'll cover up. That's what we need in a lot of these cases. He did point that out to me. So Ashley's gone on about AI. So tell us about AI, Liz.
I can just about work Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel, so don't talk to me about AI. But I did have the wonderful Robert O'Rourke, I'm sure that's his name. If I got it wrong, Robert, I'm so sorry, to Swindon some months ago talking about AI. The trouble with all these things is they're all brought in like the internet was, with all the best intentions, and then they get used for everything that they shouldn't be used for. And that to me is the saddest thing. But as I say, technology, we didn't even have computers when I was at school. So I've had to learn everything in a later. I had to sit up and beg typewriter when I started life, not even an electric one that you actually bashed away on. So I can tell you now, AI, to me, it's very frightening. The thing that worries me is when you get somebody like Elon Musk, who I think is doing, on one hand, a wonderful job, who actually is talking about putting a chip in people's brains to connect it directly to your computer. That to me is outrageous.
The problem with all of these kind of technologies is they invent something and then other people invent things around the way that they work. So, for example, they have this 24-hour news going all the time, yeah? And what they can do is they can generate an artificial ghost of a person, if you like, and make them say things in the voice of the world leaders, or a celebrity, and then broadcast it, over and over and over, and people think it's that person speaking. This is getting crazy. And I saw something advertised, I think it was on the Book of Faces the other day, and it was you can order a mask, right, which is just like a balaclava that goes over your head, and it alters your face. You actually look like somebody else. So all of these special cameras they're putting up all over the place to identify people, shoplifters and the like, going into supermarkets. You can just put one of these masks on and walk in, and nobody would even realise that it wasn't you, because people are finding ways around these things, and all it's doing is driving up costs. So that supermarket's paying for all that AI technology, which is then passed off to the tea bags and the coffee. You've seen the price of things go up lately, and it's not because that product's gone up, it's because of all the extra bolt-on things that we're all paying for.
And the shoplifting, you pay 20 pence in the pound for every item to cover for shoplifting. I know, because I came out of that. I was in the security business for a very long time, and I used to lecture all over the country and deal with boards of big companies, going in, advising them on the security on the retail side, and on the industrial side, but mostly on the retail side. And I can tell you now, you're paying probably 20 pence in the pound on every item you buy just to cover for it being nicked.
I wouldn't want to advocate anything bad, but I've seen some videos of the frustrated security guards, because obviously you're allowed to lift £200 or something now without fear of prosecution, and plead hardship or whatever it is that they do. So the security guards have resorted to kicking people who are stealing things, and people are catching it on the cameras as they're leaving the building. So this is getting, turning us against each other.
Allan, if you talk about that, though, I actually lectured at Hendon to the young police recruits. Now, what people don't realise is if only the police arrested these people and either fingerprinted or took a swab, it's not that particular shoplifting. They clear up half the problems of burglaries and what have you by picking these people up. They've got, calling shoplifting a minor offence is ridiculous, because all these people are not just shoplifting, they're doing other things as well. They'd clear up half the crimes in the country if they just arrested the shoplifters.
Yeah, can I just weigh in? So banking, we'll go to banking. Everyone wants banking. Now, a couple of years ago, I had...
Can I interrupt, John? There was a couple of comments there from Ashley about the chips that they're putting in people and that. I don't know if you want to throw those in while we were still talking about it.
The technology's there to inject it into you, or didn't have to be surgically implanted.
Oh, that's where you were referring to having chips put in people's bodies.
Well, I tell you now,
anything.
Elon Musk has got I think what people should all do, and Alan, you've heard me say this many times, go on and look at, particularly in America, look up what patents have been taken out. Now, for instance, I use this one all the time. Microsoft took out a patent whereby they can check you through your bodily fluid. Now, they've got a patent on that. Now, they can't possibly check you unless they put something into you first. And what did everybody have not so long ago after a certain medical, supposed to be a pandemic, which is something else? What did then people get put into them? And what is in that was put into them? So how can Microsoft follow you? I tell you, you need to look up the patents. If everybody went on to the patents office, both here and in America, they'd learn so much.
Sorry, John, back to you.
Right. So I'm going to go to banking now. Obviously, a lot of people don't want to do online banking and stuff like that. Now, a few years ago, I had a whistleblower on my show called Andrew Patrick. And it wasn't just a little thing. This was millions of pounds in lost British taxpayer, lost British money through an American company, and he ended up being a bounty hunter looking for people who do this. But he also worked in a bank, and so on a Sunday, someone would put in the bank safe £3,000 and say it's from a shop to put into the bank. And they used to have so much time to check that this money wasn't money laundering or whatever, to check the shop, to check the business, to make sure someone owns it and stuff like that. Then all of a sudden he said one day it come down that you've got less than 5 minutes to do these checks from, say, 30 minutes or 45 minutes. So that meant all this money was just going into the bank. And he said it was all laundered money. So how much money is being laundered in the UK, avoiding tax and stuff like that? Now, I can understand banking wanting to go more digital because you get more control. You get more control over the money. You get more control how the money's managed. So you'll stop a lot of this fraud. But people just don't understand the amount of money laundering, frauding that goes on in the UK is a staggering amount. And there's never been an official figure for it. I've searched, there's never been an official figure for it. But so I can understand that banking wants to go digitized. I get that. But a lot of people are against it. What's your thoughts on that, Liz, after what I've just said about
can I tell you, I don't think it'll ever happen, because I think if we stopped putting cash into banks, i.e. laundered money, the country would be absolutely broke. Because there is more laundered money going through this country probably than there is, if you like, proper money.
money.
I was listening this morning to somebody talking about all the barber shops and nail shops that are going. If you go past, we've got a little town here called Hythe, which is close to Folkestone and Dover, but it's a very small town. I think we've got either 3 or 4 barber shops with foreign looking gentlemen in them. There's never anybody in them, and yet I understand they deposit several £1,000s a week. Now, if a man goes in for a haircut, Alan, John, I can't really see your hair, but I don't expect there's that much there. And
No,
Alan certainly got that much. So there you go. So I guess you're paid a tenner a head, yes? Perhaps it's a tenner, right? And a little town like Hythe, and you're paying in £10,000. Now, the government don't want to stop this because that money actually is going through the books, but this is all laundered money. So there we go. What do you say?
I've got some on that as well. it's all the way to the top. We know that the world's controlled by certain rich families, and these investment companies, and it's a matter of public record that Vanguard own a lot of shares in BlackRock, and BlackRock own a lot of shares in Vanguard. So where is that money? Because it's just made up money. If one says that's my money and the other says that's my money, it don't make sense.
Round in circles.
We can't understand it, but actually there's no logical reason behind it all. So it's just really, really scary how we are being drained of money from our bank accounts all the time. It's a hard-working class, and it's to what end? Why are these rich people getting richer? What do they do with it all?
Well, there's houses and in wonderful places and all sorts of things, Alan, that you and I don't even think about. One pair of shoes. I'm not like Imelda Marcos. I've got one pair of shoes. So you have to look at where obviously rich people look at the yachts, look at all the things that they buy. I've got no problem. I think everybody should be allowed to do what they like, and obviously many people get rich by doing the right things, employing people. I mean, it's terrible that we're losing many of our entrepreneurs. I think I was listening to Rupert Lowe saying there's about 2,500 people queuing up to go into Monaco from here to get out of and these will be people that are entrepreneurs who employ people. If you look at the high streets now, apart from, as I say, barber shops and nail shops, they're dead. And this is all done on purpose. They want big business and big business only, and they want it delivered to your door. Terrible. It's not. We're not going to let it happen.
Every week we're hearing about businesses closing in Wellingborough. We had this really nice cake shop. I bought cakes from there before. Too many, perhaps. This very shirt, I bought this week from a Gentleman's Outfitters because they put the business up for sale. It's looking really grim for them. It's crazy. We walk down the street and think that's where that shop used to be. That's where that shop used to be. And it's turning into a ghost town. It's really scary.
Well, if you listen to Godfrey talking now, I mean, I'm not an economist or a banker, and I've always listened to Godfrey. I've listened to Godfrey for years because he does everything, Alan and John, as you probably know, in layman's language. We don't talk like an economist. But I said, even I can see that if you put up national insurance on employers that are in sort of fairly low-paid jobs, but if you put national insurance up and look at the bill, I was looking at Wetherspoon's bill the other day for the bar staff and what have you. It's not sustainable. So how do they think that the country is going to up its GDP, up its output, when all you're doing is closing people down who will all then go on the dole, as we used to say, or go on social security? I don't think we call it the dole anymore, do they? It's social security. But so all these people are now more and more and more will be taking from the public purse. Absolutely lunacy. This Rachel Thieves, or it's just she hasn't got a brain cell. There's nothing between the ears at all. Not a thing.
CV
Rachel from account. Rachel from accounts is the best one. Yeah. Rachel from accounts.
There is nothing between the ears. There's not a slightest bit of common sense. I mean, Godfrey's right. You should get a Yorkshire housewife to run the country, to run the budget. We're all used to, if you get £500 a week or a month coming in, you can't spend £700 because very soon you're in trouble. And this is all it is about. And if you look at the waste in America, it's exactly the same here.
Yeah,
it also touches on what you said earlier about, it's a great celebration when somebody's been involved in these rape gangs is sent to jail. But, the question is, actually, who's paying for that? We're all paying for that for the rest of their life or whatever, for all these gruesome things that are happening. If there was a deterrent strong enough, before it happened, then it wouldn't get in the way. We wouldn't have these crimes being committed because they wouldn't be sent to jail in the end.
I have to smile. When Trump came in, they said that the countries where all these people have come from, these people that are have committed so many crimes, etc., the countries where they come from wouldn't take them back. And Trump said, "Oh yes, they will." And of course, what's happening? They're going out. The transport planes, the military transport planes, are taking them all back to Venezuela and Mexico and whatever. Then of course they're taking them back because Trump said it's quite simple. If you don't take them back, I shall put 25% tariff on your goods. Now what are you going to do about it? And they said, "Oh, please send them back." Now, if only we got somebody here with the slightest bit of backbone. I won't say grow a pair because I'm not supposed to say that sort of thing. But seriously, we haven't got a man. There are spivs in Burton suits, and they should not. One of them should be in Parliament. The only person that should be in Parliament is Andrew Bridgen.
Just to mention that we had a previous guest on these shows that we do, Ben Habib, who's been a speaker at a previous Great Recess as well, and he said there's actually already an agreement in place and they're not using it to send people back to Pakistan. It's just outrageous, you know.
Pakistan has said that they would actually take them back. So what are we doing? Why are they in prison? And apparently, I was listening again. The most foreign people in our prisons are Albanians. Why are they there? Why should I pay for an Albanian to be in our prison? At how much a year? Is it about 50 grand a year it costs us now per person? He should be on a plane to Albania with all the rest of them. Let them go to Albania. Why do we have to put up with them?
Well, I've had an interesting theory on that one. Sorry, John. And the fact was that a lot of them don't look Albanian. And I think what's happened is they've come into Europe and Albanian was somewhere you could buy a passport. So, you know, this might be the reason why we've got a lot of Albanians in there.
They've absolutely abused the system. 2021 on small boats, around 50 Albanians. Do you know what number it went up to the next year? 24,000. So 50 in 1 year came up on small boats. The next year it was 24,000. Government figures. And then it dropped off again after that. They're absolutely abusing the system, and they're all crooks and thieves, if you ask me. I just want to go back to the small business. So when I looked into the European Union, which was around 2008 or 9, and what I noticed was spending money on things that were useless. And what it was, there was a halfway house that cost £3 million built in India, and it never got used. And it was EU money, so it was our money. And that's when I first started to look into it. But the major thing about Brexit now is a small business for me, Liz. How they wiped off the small business off the map. Like you said, them town centres are so much more emptier in this past 10, 15 years. And in Oldham, talking with business owners, it's the small business who's suffering. We've talked with people in Northern Ireland, the small businesses being targeted there for so they can have the big businesses in and all that. And it's just, honestly, and that's the worst thing. It's not even immigration. It was that business thing, the small business that I noticed that just wiped out. You said all the empty town centres, and there's 5 barber shops. There's no local butchers. There's no local dressmakers. There's no local cake shop. There's no local butty shop. All that's gone. And that's what really upsets me the most, coming from Oldham, a place of like small businesses and stuff like that. Really does upset me, that. But I just thought I'd get that in.
But this is the plan. This is the plan. It's all done on purpose. They only want big business, and the whole of the European Union was controlled by big business. And so the small businesses, the reason that they've never got anywhere is because big business won't allow it. The lobbying, which people don't see or hear about, has killed off small businesses. It is absolutely outrageous. The only people that can put it right are ourselves.
It is. Thank you to the chat. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Please like and subscribe to 2 YouTube channels, and also we're streaming on X, NHP UK leader. My name's John Lawrence. We've also got Allan Shipham, and First time we've got Liz Phillips on, and amazing stuff. And I cannot wait till you do the next conference. I'm definitely coming to that next conference, 100% coming to that next conference. Everything you've talked about, I talk about these issues on the door with everybody, from 5G to the jab to everything. I talk about this, whereas other wannabe candidates or a Labour candidate, they won't talk about these issues at the door, but I will. And that's why a lot of people like me in Oldham. I'm able to go that little bit further and talk about them a little bit more things. You know, and I'm concerned about everything, even though I'm not all in agreement with everything to do with 5G. We have some 5G towers in Hollingwood where I'm running, and I've done videos outside them saying you can hear these things from like halfway down the street, how much power's going into it, what kind of frequencies are coming out of them towers. And these frequencies do affect us. They do affect people in different ways. So, you know, I'm involved like that in my local community, as well as doing everything to do with fly tipping and stuff like that. But it's been a great show, Liz, and I'm really honoured. It's a good call off Allan to get you on, I've got to say, Allan.
Well, I don't know about that.
Like one of the comments. Yeah, one of the comments in the chat there was Liz talks a lot of sense, and I think that just sums you up completely. Yeah.
It's about the only thing I can talk. We change the theme for every one we do, so that the theme changes. And this one is called Farmers, Food and Freedom. Now, the one thing we haven't done this time, but we've done before, and if you go onto our website, you can see them all, is we haven't done climate change this time and what's going on in the sky. But we can't cover everything all the time. We do move it around, and so that we cover as much as we can, but we do talk about the things that others won't. And finally, let me just tell you, Thetford was the home of Thomas Paine, and Thomas Paine went to America and was very instrumental in America in stopping slavery at the time of independence. And so we've got somebody opening the show in Thetford, if you like, from the Thomas Paine Society. Everybody thinks about William Wilberforce and people stopping, but Thomas Paine was so instrumental in stopping slavery that it's going to be a delight to have a Thomas Paine lookalike open us and welcome us.
You know, I do a lot on slavery, and I've talked about William Wilberforce, but I've also talked about Thomas as well. And, you know, Britain has an history that goes far-reaching in the world, and we just wouldn't understand. A lot of people just don't understand the influence and the kind of things we had throughout the world. It's not all bad. A lot of it was good. And like I said, the catalyst for ending the slave trade started in the UK. And with people like Thomas and William Wilberforce, which my dad is called Granville Wilberforce Lawrence, which is Granville Henry, William Wilberforce. And Lawrence was the first town in a particular state in America that was non-segregated. I just want to get that in. So that's my dad's name. So, you know, Liz, it's been absolutely fantastic. It's lovely to meet you. And I really cannot wait until you do another conference. And I'm definitely going to be one of the first ones to sign up for that conference, 100%. Allan didn't have to do so much work. I'm well on board with everything that's been said here. And I'm sure Allan already knows that. But any last words?
We've got a week left, and I just wanted to make sure that, you know, everyone knew it was going to happen. So it's awful when people say afterwards, "Oh, if I'd have known about that," you know. So emails have gone out. We've shared it on social media. So, you know, let's get people watching next week and following the feed, because the more contributors we've got, the more awareness we've got, and the more action we've got. As we've seen with them farmers, you know, I've been out on protests. The tractors to London, you know, it wouldn't happen unless people spoke to each other. And you know, we're seeing they used to ignore them, but now things are starting to happen. You know, there's a big scare thing at the moment that they might be bringing back foot and mouth as a retaliation. Well, if they try that on, there's going to be real bad time. You know,
I had an awful lot to do to protecting farmers in mid Wales at the time of foot and mouth, and there are certain farmers that will tell you what I did to protect them, etc. Because I'm fearless, as you know, Allan, when it comes to dealing with these bureaucrats from DEFRA and from the vets, etc. So I'm very well aware of the horrific time that everybody had, and it's not going to happen again. So and it was the Labour government last time with the awful Nick Brown as the Minister of Agriculture, an absolutely deplorable, despicable man, and we're not going to let it happen. And that's the end of it.
We draw a line in that sand, don't we?
Thank you. Thank you. Everyone in the chat, thank you for the comments and stuff. Ashley and Lily, I think, was the other one. Thanks for the comments. Hope everyone's enjoyed the stream. Keep up with us, and there'll be definitely more stuff on. But I definitely can't wait to get to the next meeting that you do after this one. That's my kind of thing. I don't mind going to meetings. I turn up, and I'm a productive person. I'm not negative or anything. I'm not an hindrance. I can come up with really awesome questions and stuff like that. And a lot of the time, I do a lot more speaking now when I go to events and stuff. But thank you very much, Liz. A good shout there by Allan last night, getting on my case to get the stream together. I've well enjoyed it. It really has been a good, interesting stream. A lot of issues talked about. I cannot wait to watch some of the videos. I'll be watching it live, definitely, when it's on next week. And I'll give the website a good check through and check all the speeches out and stuff. But thank you very much, and good night, everyone, and God bless. Thank you.
God bless.